Rock Metal Podcast, episode 12, with Stever. So, Rock Metal Nation, I've got on the line today Stever, a female-fronted rock and metal band from Canada, Ontario specifically, and I'm super stoked to have a member of Stever on, Karen. Karen, how are you today?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's always good to talk to a fellow Canadian.
Absolutely, eh?
So I think we should throw in like 400 obligatory A's into this just for the sake.
We should, and a few beauties, like, oh, Butte, that's really good that you did that there.
It's too bad it's not winter because then we could, get our cat out on the field.
Absolutely, yeah. No, now it's summer, which is the only reason that we live in Canada. We just confuse ourselves with winter.
We get tricked into it, don't you think? Because the summers here are so beautiful, we get absolutely tricked into it, and then winter comes and we're like, oh my god.
I know. Autumn is just beautiful. You're like, oh, this is amazing. And then winter comes like, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah. But that's when I get a lot of writing done, is in the wintertime, because otherwise I would just kill myself because I'm always so frozen. I live out in the country and it's a big old farmhouse and it's, it costs $1 zillion to heat it in the wintertime, and then in the summertime it's just beautiful and you remember why you lived out there, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then in terms of writer, we're going to get into a bit of that, but Karen, I was curious, what inspired you to get into music?
I had no choice. It's an appendage. It's one of those things that it's just my arm. So I have to do it. I tried to kind of run away from it and do other things along the way, but then it just always called me back. I had a real weird dad who was, he was into everything from Liberace to Oscar Peterson. But then my mom was into like Barry Manilow and Air Supply.
There we go.
And then I had, you'll soon see who I got the influence from. I had an older sister who liked, E012, and then I had another sister who liked dance music, like CNC Music Factory stuff, and then my brother liked Metallica and AC/DC, and he was my bro, so I tend to get into more heavy stuff, but I'm a Beethoven fan myself. I find I sucked at math and science really bad in school, and I was really thankful for the arts, so I think that's probably where I focused my attention, because I could come home with some decent grades at those instead of the 50 or the sometimes 49% I got at math.
Well, at least you can count to 4 in music.
Yeah,
right?
that's all. Well, yeah, sometimes you can do some funky time signatures, like 7/8 or whatever. But I think just music is one of those things that the reason I keep going back to it is because it heals. After all the crap you go through in a day, it's something that you can kind of go back to at the end of your day and just be healed again for the following day. So I have to do it. I just absolutely have to do it.
I love that. Music heals after all the crap you go through in the day.
Yeah.
So it definitely got the influence from Mom, who's into Barry Manilow and Air Supply. I definitely.
Of course, yeah. That's. Don't you hear it?
I hear so much of it, especially the Air Supply.
But you have to imagine, like, I did grow up on a farm. I was telling you earlier, like, the Toyota plant took over our farm, right? Mm-hmm. I grew up on a farm where we had enough space to listen to our own music, but you could hear it coming out of every room like that, right? So, and then, of course, we all had our own instruments we played, and Mom really inspired us to play, and she was totally okay with us making as much noise as possible. And I think if anybody out there that's listening, if you have kids who are into music and you're trying to, like, just get them on some rinky-dink little drum set, get them some real drums and let them hit it. It's not going to be the worst noise that ever happens in your house, right? Seriously, I just hate that so much. Let's get them a little digital drum set and we'll just put some headphones on them and it's like, come on, just hit it.
Yeah.
Just make some noise.
The true story, I started playing drums on one of my friend's drum kits. We were jamming together, so he had it over at my house, and he didn't have that good of a drum set. And for anyone who's never played on the difference between, like, let's say a $200 drum kit and a $1,200 drum kit,
yes,
there's a lot of volume difference in terms of how loud it is and the construction and things like that. So
yes, indeed.
After I took it seriously, I was like, you know what, I'm going to spend some coin on a nice drum set. And I got this really nice birch drum kit from Tama. And
nice.
Yeah, my parents were like, all right, whatever. It wasn't too bad. You just closed the door. And yeah,
So they encouraged you.
They encouraged me up until the point where I hit that snare drum for the first time, and they were just like, okay, so that's really loud, and I don't think that we can handle that, because before it wasn't too loud, but now it's like really loud. I was just like, thank you, I'm glad that I had a good investment. It was just, not one of those conducive conversations, but I'm glad that...
Well, in my house currently, my fiance, who's also the drummer that you'll see in the Juggernaut video, I have an E012 drum kit in the house. There's a Crush drum kit in the house, and then he built one for that video, just specifically for the video that we painted and put kind of cool stuff all over it. Yeah, so there's always a lot of noise going on over here. Again, why I live in the country. Neighbors do not appreciate that.
Good point. Good point. Now, Karen, what is the story behind... I mean, obviously, you are the front woman for everything, but what is the story behind you and maybe some of the other more influential members, or just you finding the groove with what became what is now Stever?
Well, Stever's my last name, and it's a name that, you go through a couple bad marriages along the way. Oops, did I say that? And then you get your name back. So I was really proud to call it Stever because I was taking my daddy's name back again. And so I'm the primary writer in the band, although Frank Greiner, who's my co-producer, I told you about him. He worked on some of those Rob Zombie records like Hellbilly Deluxe, and I just wanted somebody to make something slam really hard. But as it turns out, he's really good at, orchestral arrangements as well. We both do that, but I do the primary lyrical writing in the band. Mm-hmm. And he's a killer guitar player, and we worked probably for 10 years together. We've done both records together, and he's really open to just kind of any crazy idea I want to throw at him, and my lyrics are pretty intense and story driven, and so it works really well because then the song is the boss, and we just work that way. It's just the lyrics kind of dictate what needs to happen. So if it's weird, then the instruments get weird, and if it's heavy and dark, then the instruments get heavy and dark. And same with the videos, and it dictates it that way. So I don't think I've kind of done the dance thing. I've done the pop thing, when the record labels and producers along the way want you to do those things, and you feel like, oh my God, I'm so disconnected. Where's your little 808? I felt so disconnected to that, and I just felt like, being a huge Beethoven fan, every time I would put Beethoven back on, the intensity of, that rock god, just would keep bringing me back, where I just wanted to feel like there was butterflies that were alive in my stomach, and that's the kind of music that I make, and that's what it's going to be. Well,
I love that. Butterflies alive in my stomach, because if you're going to do... It's not like you can go to school, get a degree, and then hate your life every day 9 to 5 being a rocker. So if you're going to do it, you might as well have butterflies in your stomach while you're doing it. Yeah, I would rather be dirt poor doing the music I love than to be, lip syncing on a stage. Sorry, it's just not going to work for me. There's just no way. There's just no way. And I think I became a lot happier on the second record. I did a record called Playground Isolator that was about my depression. I became a lot happier on the second record, even though it's not a happy sounding record, and certainly not content related happy wise. But I became happier because I went through a phase where I decided I'm not going to care what anybody thinks anymore. I'm just not going to care, because this is what I want to say and this is what I want to do selfishly. But I do like sharing, and I do like inspiring people with that, but I just boldly needed to take it in the direction I needed to take it, and I wanted it to be a concept record, and so I needed to feel alive, and those butterflies propelled me. I allowed those butterflies to fly, and they propelled me out of that depression and back to a place where I could fall in love with writing again and fall in love with characters again, and it's just what I want to do at this time. So, yeah, that's kind of the skinny of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, allowing those butterflies to fly. I love that analogy. And going back to artistic expression, I was reading getting philosophically deep for a second. I was reading some.
I love philosophy. I could talk about that all day long.
Boom. Have you ever heard of Osho, Indian philosopher?
Yes.
And Osho talks about the fact that incarceration only kills people, whereas if they would allow them to artistically express themselves, then they would heal, because everything that has been forced down would then be allowed to exist, and then they would become healthier and happier. And, well, what you were just saying there, not to say that you were crazy by any means, or in need of incarceration, But everything that you said there was falling straight in line with that. Was I was in a dark place, and after I allowed my butterflies to fly and became artistically expressive and bold, decisive action, I'm in a happier place now.
Absolutely. And I think there's an artist responsibility too that I learned along the way, is that your music isn't just for this purpose of healing you. It should be for the purpose of healing others and inspiring others as well. Fantastic. And I felt like by doing a concept record with a story and something that's a little more fun and try to keep the videos sillier, I felt like that would be a good direction to go in order to inspire people around me. Because the amount of people that I had brought in during that initial record were depressed people. And I felt like, how can I take them through my journey of healing, and then hopefully they can come with me to that next place. And so the whole next record is about a boy who is going through hell and hopefully makes his way back to the playground again. And that drives me every single day. That is exactly what drives me. Boom. So, yeah, butterflies in the stomach. Oh, and some of them are good and some of them are moths, right?
Love it. All right, so I was going to ask about, when you guys get together to write songs, what that process is like. And you kind of mentioned that it sounds like you write the lyrics, and depending on how...
Always lyrics first. It doesn't mean that's how it necessarily has to be for everyone. I think everyone does have their... Like, I've seen some people that if they're guitar-driven, they come up with a riff, and then that causes them to hear the words and music, and everybody has their own thing. For me specifically, I want it to work as poetry on paper first, without it having anything else around it. And I'll go to Frank and read it through, and he'll say, yes, that's a good poem, right? Mm-hmm. And then so it works on its own. And because this is a concept record, but I even did this on the other record when it's just songs, but because this is a concept record, it's so intricate, and I have a book that's coming with it and all these other complexities, but I needed it to work as words on paper first and make sense there. And then Frank and I will get together with just acoustic guitars and lay down basic chords. So now we want it to work as a campfire song, right? It holds together that way. Mm-hmm. Then you can start layering in all the other stuff, the drums, the bass, the instrumentation. And then that's when you get into that 16 hours in front of Pro Tools going through orchestral arrangements. That's so fun, is to go through and do that stuff. But then at the end, you can put your icing on the cake. You can put all those weird noises, and I can pull out my dad's old accordion and put something on there if I want to, or hit a wood block, or just, whatever. And so it gets layered, and by the end you can stick that cherry on top and call it done. Is it going to be something everybody's going to like or even relate to? Maybe not, but it was a fun process, and it's really important for us to have a lot of fun during our process.
Beauty! I just had to throw that out there. Since we discussed that earlier in the interview.
Hey, if we were smokers, we'd be like, hey, do you want to go for a dart now?
So I love that process, basically poem to campfire song to mix song, and then obviously, as you mentioned, adding in all the little things. And, for any musicians out there listening in who are just getting started on the whole thing, that is a really good process to follow, because if you're thinking, oh, it's got to sound like this, and you point at some band's 10th album, it's not, right? If you're just starting out, it's not going to sound like that, number one. Number two, start out with, well, how does it function just as a campfire song? Does it hold its water there? And then if it holds its water there, then you can go ahead and start adding in all the bells and whistles, because it already is a song. The bells and whistles after that are just going to be the bells and whistles. Yeah,
some of my favorite cover songs and stuff, I think, was it Disturbed that recently did that Sounds of Silence? Mm-hmm. And it's a good song. You can tell it's a good song. It started off as a really good song. So then when somebody goes to cover it, it's not being held together by just whatever 808 was recorded on it in the 80s. It's a good song.
Absolutely. Speaking of good songs, let's go ahead and get into the first track, Juggernaut.
Rocks, money, and elephants. They can't bathe the idol, but wash his reflection. An elephant. Is this relevant? The dusty crow nesting in the rafters, likes to view warm silence and solitude. You can't see her fledglings, but hear their plaintive cries. And she is truly who's unstoppable. It's impossible, impossible to think that you can own the title known as Mother Crow Juggernaut. She won't approve the move of her Juggernaut, and she'll debate it's her estate, it's her Juggernaut. She found a vacant lot, a Juggernaut, abandoned cot, a cozy spot, defend her home like a rover's bone. This Mother Crow Juggernaut never let you resurrect the antiquated train wreck known as Juggernaut. Juggernaut ride. Stallion floats the chariot and killed disciples with their wheels. The gods would give salvation in exchange for their devotion. Yeah, I can't believe what you've heard, but believe what you see. The thing is 40 feet and stationary, doubt it be in motion. See the dusty crow nesting in the rafters. She guards her view in silence and solitude. Don't know how long she's been here, won't know the day she'll leave. Yeah, she is truly who's unstoppable. It's impossible, impossible to try and dethrone the present reigning Mother Crow Juggernaut. She won't approve the move of her Juggernaut. Yeah, she'll debate it's her estate, it's her Juggernaut. She found a vacant lot, a Juggernaut, abandoned cot, a cozy spot, defend her home like a rover's bone. This Mother Crow Juggernaut never let you resurrect the antiquated train wreck known as Juggernaut. What? Not. Oh no, defend her home, yeah.
All right, coming back from Juggernaut, Karen, what was the story or inspiration behind Juggernaut?
Juggernaut is song number 5 on the Idiot Savant record. So part of this whole concept, let me just peel it back a little bit. We have a 9-year-old boy, Ian, set back in the 1930s. He's an autistic savant, and he's a mute, so he doesn't speak. Now, back then, they didn't recognize some of the mental instabilities that were going on, and often they would perform things like lobotomies and put them in asylums, and it's really just a dark and ugly time, and I always say it set a bad precedent in our mental health history. So Juggernaut is an actual Indian Juggernaut. A lot of times when you go search Juggernaut, it comes up with that kind of strong dude, that character. But an old Indian Juggernaut, it's okay. Kind of think back to the Krishna time, where one of these big Juggernathas would go through the village, and it would have all the dignitaries and people would be on it, and then the disciple-like people would come and try to touch it and be healed by it. It was just this monstrous thing that would just crush everything in its path. They used it a lot during some of the political debates going on in the U.S. around the Obama administration, saying, "Oh, it's like a political juggernaut moving over the states." But for this story, this Indian Juggernaut is abandoned, and it's out in the woods, and it's a place that Ian can go. And there's animals there, and it's almost like a Noah's Ark, right? But not in that kind of a religious sense, but somewhere that Ian can go and hang out with animals and be at peace with some of the talents that he has and be away from all the other people. So that's that part of the story. Juggernaut happens there. So it's also guarded by Mother Crow, and you can imagine that I want this to be a whole rock opera, right? I want this to be a whole film. I want it to be very Tim Burton-esque, like just strange and weird and demented and lots of fantasy-based animals. So that's where my mind goes, John. It's bad up there. You don't want to go. I don't have room for math and science, right?
No, and it all started with that blasted Toyota factory.
Yeah, my deep, dark childhood. That's what it is. Yeah.
Boom. All right. So Indian Juggernaut is abandoned. He's a place where Ian can go, which, as you said, is a mute in the 1930s. You said autistic mute in the 1930s, correct?
Yes.
And so it's a place where you can run away and escape, go hang out with the animals, and be at peace with the talents that he has, which, as we know, unfortunately, I've read lots of documented stories that are quite sad about the way that we would treat a lot of people not that long ago.
And now it's just in the form of a pill, right?
Yeah, now it's just in the form of a pill. Thankfully, I've read a lot about the development of positive psychology and figuring out, well, instead of thinking about what going wrong, why don't we take a look at who's doing it right and what we can learn from that. So that's getting into it. A whole other side topic about NLP and all kinds of other things with that nature in terms of how to...
Oh, yeah, we could talk about that all day long.
All day long. So
what's wrong with our school system?
I know. I love myself. All right, so let's go. Speaking of loving ourselves.
Oh, is that the Me Society reference?
Speaking of, let's go ahead and get into the next amazing track, Ride of Your Life.
There's something I know him or see him that's gonna stop you from screwing around. You're second guessing and messing by messing with bigger things taking you down. If I prepare you to dare you and scare you by doing things that you tend to make up. Why would you play here, play fair, or stay clear? Your faith alone isn't nearly enough, no. I'll make a promise, be honest. you, then hurt you, desert you. With the memory locked in your mind, you took back, the impact was instant. You won't forget your partner in crime. You'll never find someone like me, 'cause no one else is this extreme. You'll never find someone like me, knowing that shine. You know, this is the ride of your life. Leave all your fears outside. You're gonna see things from the inside. This is the ride of your life. I'm gonna blow your mind. You know this only comes once in a lifetime. This is the ride of your life. Leave all your fears outside. You're gonna see things from the inside. This is the ride of your life. I'm gonna blow your mind. You know this only comes once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime.
All right, coming back from Ride of Your Life, Karen, same question. What's the story inspiration, or where in the story are we with now with Ian?
Okay, that is actually off the first record, Playground Isolator. So that is during my depression, and that's song number 10. And I was a little bit angry then. I don't know if you got that from that. Yeah, it's that's the part of the record where I am getting back my self-confidence. I am getting back my brain again, and I'm feeling really bold and kind of superhero-like. I'm going to just crush everyone around me. So it seems to be a track that resonates with the metal community a lot. I get a lot more feedback on that song probably than any other song I've put out there. As just far as just being something driving. But I have a lot of Harley Davidson fans that seem to really like that track. And I'm thinking that could be a good kind of song for them to, you know, roll into Sturgis with or something.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, just straightforward rock track. I was just feeling really bold that day.
Just feeling bold that day, no big deal.
Yeah.
No worries, get on your horse and ride, or Harley and ride, and
yeah, just like, this is how it's going to be. Yeah, that record, although it was about my depression, it kind of had its moments of where I felt like I saw a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And Ride of Your Life was definitely one of those songs.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's really, really key point, as I think we've kind of visited often enough, is part of being artistic and expressive is to do so. And so if you end up doing those things, then you can really clear a lot of those emotions out and make room for the new ones that are going to come in, and therefore help other people. Apparently they ride Harley Davidson. I don't know. But
there's a freedom in that, right? There's such a freedom in getting on a bike. So
Totally. Especially in the summer months, and you can really enjoy it at that point.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right, Karen, what exciting news do you have coming down the pipeline for Rock Metal Nation to pay attention to?
I'm working on the book that goes with this monster record. So there's 12 songs on Idiot Savant. Each one of those is just kind of a snapshot of the chapter that goes with it in the book. So I'm going to be blowing that out. We also have done a short for Blackguard. There's a video online called Blackguard. That's song 7. And we did a short, an animated short, where it's just, you know, some kind of ethereal sounds and stuff in the background, and just kind of blows out the idea of Ian being in the asylum. And so we're working on that short. I'm also working on the next video, which is Scatterbrain, the second song off that record. So the idea is to put out videos for all of them, but there's going to be shorts that go with it. We're going to be putting them into film festivals, and the idea will be, you know, my kind of big audacious goal at the end of it is to have this as a film, have the Idiot Savant film. So I think big. Will it happen? I don't know.
By audacious, you mean ambitious.
Yes, it's a little bit ambitious, but I figure if you try to aim for the top of the tree, you might bump into the trunk, but if you aim for the stars, you might actually start to fly, right? So
Exactly.
that's the idea is, and I spent way too many years where I had people around me who kind of squashed some of my visions, who squashed my confidence. And so I'm trying to play catch up with my childhood dreams. So I'm back in that real childhood spirit. The idea, though, is to get everybody back to the playground again, to heal, to inspire, to get people to feel like they can go back there. So as many medians as I can hit in order to do that. So I'm not working on another record, but this one's going to get really blown out is what's going to end up happening to it. So rock opera, film, book, all that stuff that goes with it. And there might even be some coinciding books that happen after Idiot Savant as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, never a dull moment.
No. And I mean, if you can think, might as well think big. I know
Yes.
that Donald Trump isn't very popular right now, but he was quoted
Let's
saying,
get back to the real meaning of think big.
yeah, if you're going to think, you might as well think big. And
Well, yeah, and I tend to steer, even though I kind of know what's going on politically, I tend to steer away from politics and religion and all that stuff just because I find it very divisive, and I'm constantly looking for ways to bring people back together.
Yeah.
And the only thing in history that's ever proven, truly proven to do that is music, and art. Art does it as well. And if you can bring within the metal rock community, like there's no bigger, more loyal audience than the metal rock community. And those people have each other's back. That's what I love, is that there's nothing divisive about it.
Yeah. All right, Rock Metal Nation, keep your eyes and ears peeled for the book that's going to go along with the record, Idiot Savant. Each track is going to be a snapshot of the chapter in the book, so they're going to coincide with each other. There's also that animated short of Blackguard, and working on the next video for Scatterbrain. Plus, film festivals are going to be getting hit up by Miss Karen. So, Toronto Film Festival, as well as I'm guessing some of the other ones, like the Cannes Film Festival, if you can, things like that.
Absolutely.
Boom! Let's do it! And in order for Rock Metal Nation to keep their eyes and ears peeled for that, how can they find out more about you and your work?
I'm on Twitter a lot, I'm on Facebook a lot, but as far as just, going somewhere where I'll keep some kind of standardized updates, KarenStever.com.
Fantastic.
So-
All right. Rock Metal Nation, head over to KarenStever.com. There you can find everything that you need to know, and go ahead and pick your favorite social media channel, because Karen is going to be conquering them all, if she hasn't already. And like her, follow her, subscribe, whatever it is that you need to do on that social media channel, because she has some exciting things coming down the pipeline.
Awesome. Thank you, John.
Absolutely. Karen, thank you for coming on, sharing your creativity with Rock Metal Nation. Much appreciated.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Awesome to have a fellow Canadian do an interview as well.
You got it. All right, Rock Metal Nation. Hopefully you just found your new favorite band in Stever. Big thanks again for her for coming on and sharing her music with us. Make sure to head to www.therockmetalpodcast.ca to check out all the information from the show you just heard today. And until then, rock on, Rock Metal Nation.